Hey gang, we're back. It's Brian Martin, the boss man here at Four State Trucks headquarters. Once again with Michael Forrest, our top tech. Exciting new episode for the ranch hand as the transformation continues. In an effort to take this truck back 35 years in time, we're going to take this one-piece factory 389 grill surround and get rid of the modern headlights, but we're going to put a four-piece on here that we stock and sell here at Four State, all polished stainless, but that four-piece, at a glance, really makes this truck look like a 379.
Takes it back in time for sure.
Yes, it does. We're going to have an old school grill. We're a little uncertain on what we're going to do for grill bars, but I assure you we'll come up with something cool. This is a pretty big project. I mean, to do this, you're going to need a huck gun. It's very precise when you're pulling down the rivets, to do it in a technique and a sequence to where it doesn't pucker the stainless and everything stays really nicely aligned. But the kit we've got, premium quality. So we're going to knock out the grill. Headlights, we'll go around here and show you. We've got to go old school dual round on the left, dual round on the right. We are going to convert them to LEDs so we can have that superior lighting, low amp draw, and all the gains of the modern headlights. But I'm telling you what, the visor and horns, incredible difference. The tapered bumper, the lower ride, incredible difference. This is going to be equally as powerful when we get done to providing the whole end game that we're looking for. The last piece of the puzzle will be when those stacks go up in the air. Sure. So you'll have to stay tuned because that's a few weeks out yet. But we've kind of explained it. Let's go around here and look at some of the parts. All right, here's some of the parts we just talked about. Of course, we got the four-piece stainless steel, all polished out grill surround to give it that 379 look. We got our one-piece stainless ring here. We got the grill we're going to use is up here in front of the truck. And we didn't mention this earlier, but we've got our polished top hood center strip.
Yeah, this strip here is styled just exactly like the 359. Of course, these are not drilled, as you can see. We'll drill this as needed to fit the hood. It's for the length of the 389 extended hood, but it's going to look like it's right off a 359.
This is a fairly new part we just got in here at Four State. As Forrest mentioned, brand new blank extruded. You're going to have to polish it at your local polish shop and drill it, but it's the perfect length for a 389 extended hood. So that's going to take it back a few years, and it wouldn't be a Peterbilt without the right set of Peterbilt headlights. So here's our old school dual rounds. Painted the buckets to give it that stellar look, and then the polished out rings on polished brackets. Going to provide the end game that we're going for.
All right, so let's go around here and start taking the truck apart. All right, so we're going to change this grill surround, headlights up at the front of this. So the first thing we're going to do is open the hood and remove these headlights. There's 6 studs on the back side of each one of these lights, so I'll pull a nut off them, disconnect the connector underneath, remove each side off as a complete assembly. All right, so I got the headlights off. These aluminum fender braces from the side of the grill to the fender need to come off also because it kind of sandwiches the grill surround. So I'm going to need to remove it. There's 2 bolts in here in the side, plus these 5 self-threaders here that screw the fender to that support. All right, so now I've got the headlights off, the fender braces off, and now I'm going to start separating the grill and surround from the hood. Now, just like when they put this onto the hood, I don't need to have the grill separated from the surround. I can take it all off as one unit. What I'll be doing is cutting off these hut collars from the back side of the surround, and they're going to go around each side, the top, and across this lower support. But there are some inside the gussets of these hood hinges that I can't get a cutoff wheel to. So in those cases there, I'll go shut the hood, grind the heads, and drill them from the outside. All right, so now I've got all but 4 hucks cut out of here. That's all that's holding the grill into the truck. So I'm gonna get me a helper, pull down here to support the bottom of the surround. I'll cut these final 4 off, and then we'll drop the surround, grill, insert, bug screen, everything out as one assembly. Okay, I'm gonna stand it up on here. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, now here's our complete surround assembly out. Didn't take out any grill bars, didn't take the grill out, didn't take the bug screen out. This is all still together. And we'll put our new piece in. We'll put that in piece at a time, just the same way that a 379 was put together. All right, so here's what we got left of our hood. We've got all the chrome gone, the grill, surround, hood pull, everything off of it. And this is our new 379 style hood surround kit from 12 gauge. This piece has both sides, a bottom and a top crown, just the same way the 379 is. Now these have got all the holes punched into them for the hucks to go to the hood sides. Got the ones in the front for the grill insert and the trim ring. What it does not have is headlight bracket holes, giving us the ability to put our own holes in here so we can use the factory headlights if we wanted to. We could put double round JJ style bar holders on here, whatever we wanted to do. Also here on the crown, we don't have any holes for a hood pull nor holes for a emblem in the front. We could put this on here and be smooth, blank, and clean. We're probably going to put some type of an ornament, probably some handles on it, but we're going to leave the front all smooth. So what I'll do next is I'll get some machine screws and just temporarily kind of mock up these panels on this hood to check our fitment, see if we need to make any adjustments, and then once we're good there, I'll mark where our holes will be through the hood gussets where our headlight will mount. Alright, so now I've got the grill surround mocked up onto the hood. I've got machine screws in various holes holding the surround to the hood skins. And I've also put the trim ring on the 4 pieces of the surround to hold everything in place where it needs to be. As I mentioned before, these surround side panels don't have any holes in them for the headlight brackets or the wire holes to go through here, giving you some versatility on what type of mounts you want to use. The ones that we're going to use, we'll use the factory hole locations for the mounting bolts and for the wires. So what I'm going to do is open this hood up, and with a pick I'm going to scribe the bolt holes through the corner gussets onto the inside of these side panels. This is indicating where the factory headlight brackets mount, and this large hole is where our wires will pass through the corner gusset in through the headlight bracket. I've got 3 here in the front, and these 3 back here that are small holes, actually I'll need to oversize these to about a 3/8 or 7/16 for the bolts to pass through all of this into the headlight bracket, because this hole is only large enough for the stainless carriage bolts that the rest of the grill surround will be mounted on. Okay, so I got both side pieces back on here with a couple of machine screws and the bolts down here in the bottom of my fender brace. Now I'm just going to pass a couple of bolts through the mounting holes through the corner gussets just to make sure that everything is going to line up. See if I have to enlarge my holes or anything, and it looks like they're all passing right through. Looks like I probably need to go with longer bolts than these, but this will tell me that this is going to line up. I also see that my wire hole is right in line with the corner gusset hole also. All right, so I know I've got my holes lined up in the side panels for the headlights. That's all good on both sides. Next step will actually be to start final assembling of these pieces of this surround. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and just leave this on here. I'm going to pull the protective vinyl off of this and start putting in the included carriage bolts one at a time, and I'll just replace the machine screws that I have in here holding it with the carriage bolts as I get to them. Just going to put them in finger tight for now, so I may have to do a little bit of shifting around. Alright, then I put the top crown on, and these fit over the sides. I'll be careful not to scratch any of the paint or any other part of the surround. I'll put a couple of bolts back in here. Alright, so here I've got almost all of them in the top of the top crown. I can kind of see as we work around the edge here, our holes start getting off a little bit. And that could be from a variety of things, but for the most part it's just a whole bunch of pieces put together, so things could get off some. But what I'm going to do is start here in the center and just a little bit at a time start running these down so that I'm not creating any high spots or low spots and making either piece buckle a little bit, kind of spreading this out along the way. And after I get it out to about here, I'm going to go ahead and take a drill and just start drilling back through those to make the holes larger where it needs to be up or back. But I'm going to keep this in line with this bead on the side of the hood and in line with the side piece of the surround. So I'll have to keep these pulled up tight to each other as I'm getting my bolts in here. Driver to start pulling these down. I don't want to use an impact driver or something that's going to pull a lot of force really fast, because that could get me into a bind in a hurry. So like I said, I'm just going to go a little bit at a time at the center, just working my way out. Let's stagger one side and the other. If I were to start somewhere here in the middle, I could have a variation in height from the hood to the surround, and you'll see a wrinkle in one piece or the other. This here just kind of keeps the tension moving evenly across here. I'm only going about finger tight with them right now too. I won't tighten them all up completely until I've got everything in. Okay, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and get a drill and drill through these holes in the stainless crown and enlarge or move the hole over on the hood side panel underneath. Then I'll put my bolts in there. I'll just do probably a couple at a time, put these bolts in, do one or two more, trying to keep these lines all straight and even with each other. Having the hood propped open like this a little ways gives me ample room between the grill side and the radiator, so I get my hand and my tools in here to work. Also, I know that my drill bits won't be hitting the radiator, the condenser, any lines or hoses back here, so I just got it stuck on the hood guide on the back, keeping it right here. All right, so now I've got both side pieces and my top crown loosely attached to the hood. Now this bottom surround has got a set of holes that'll correspond with holes in the trim ring and the grill insert, and then it'll of course flush up to the bottom of the sides, but there are not holes for these three in the bottom of the surround into this lower hood support. So what I'll have to do is attach the trim ring and the grill to this bottom surround, put that all up to the hood, get some bolts started in it. Once I get them all in, I'll snug those up, and then I will drill these three holes through the bottom support and put bolts in there. So I'm going to start stacking these pieces face down on here. So I'm going to attach the bottom trim to this, and I'll probably go ahead and put a couple more into it just to keep them together as we get it put into position. This top flange will actually go to the inside of the grill. It doesn't face the bumper, it actually faces up towards the center. So it'll set over here underneath all of this. Only tighten these about finger tight because I may need to shift this heightways and maybe even a little bit sideways to match up with the bottom of the side trim. All right, so now we got to put in our grill assembly with the trim ring and their lower surround on. In order to do that, we'll open the hood, get some assistance with somebody down below to push the grill up with the bolts, and I'll be inside the hood and putting nuts on them as we go. All right, so now I've got all the bolts holding the surround to the trim ring and the grill. I'm just kind of adjusting on the bottom surround so that it lines up flush on the front with the sides, as well as the bottom line is straight across. So I'm gonna go ahead and get back up top and tighten the rest of these up around the perimeter pretty snug. I'll close the hood, get one last check before I give them all a final tightening. All right, that's looking really good. All right, so now I'm going to drill the three holes in here. I'm going to use a 7/32 drill bit. I know it's a little ways back to the radiator, the oil cooler and everything, but I still want to have some protection. So what I got here is just a short length of 3/8 air brake line. I'm going to slide that right over my 7/32 drill bit. And now as soon as I get through my hole, that's going to stop against that plastic and keep the drill bit from continuing on hitting anything back there. Since I don't have an assistant right now, I'm just going to put the bolt in there and put a piece of tape on it. That'll keep it from falling out when I open the hood, plus it'll help hold it as I'm spinning a nut on it. All right, now our grill is in and solid. All I'm left to do is get our front fender braces on it. So I get a bolt in through the side of the grill side and across the front of the fender. All right, so our next step here is to get our headlight brackets mounted to the side of the grill. Now these are the ones we opted to go with. they're going to go right in here through the factory holes, at least 5 of the 6 holes. So what I'm going to do is I just put some studs on into these threaded holes. That way I can put this into place with the hood open, of course, and it can sit there, and all my holes I know are lined up, and I'll pull the studs out one at a time and put bolts into them. But before I do that, the headlight wire is going to come out of the back of the buckets and up through this hole and then into the side of the grill. And that's difficult to do when it's all mounted. So the little trick is just to feed you a wire to fish your new wires through here. Just a scrap piece of electrical wire, rope, shoelace, pretty much anything that you could use to tie your headlight wires to pull them through the holes. And I'll just feed that inside the hood. After my headlight's on, I'll tie them to this and pull everything through. So let's open the hood. I'll just feed that wire through that hole. Put that in. Now go inside the hood and replace those studs with the bolts one at a time. All right, that one pulled up good. Okay, there's all our brackets mounted. Now close the hood and we'll start putting the headlight housings on the brackets.
Whoa! Thing looks awesome.
All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and reassemble the whole headlights. We're changing the bulbs in them. Had the paintings housing, so it was completely disassembled. I've put this stainless wire loom around the wires here so that the part that's hanging out between the headlight and the headlight bracket is nice and appealing. I'll start putting the buckets back into these housings. Okay. Now I'll change these seal beams out to our housing with the LED bulbs. Okay, well these are the capsules that we'll be using. We're going to change this crystal light out to an LED bulb. So all I need to do is move this retainer, pull that bulb out, at our LED version, which you got to partially disassemble it, put it back through the retainer and reassemble. And we'll install this back into this capsule. Get our adapter plug and plug that into the connector in the housing. Get all that tucked back in there. Note that it does have a top to it. And put our retainer ring back on. Now we're going to change this other seal beam to the same capsule LED bulb in it. Then lastly, our chrome bezel. Alright, now that one's entirely assembled except for just mounting it to the truck. I'll go ahead and assemble the other one. Alright, so now we've got our light housing assembled with the bulbs, the new lights, bezels on them. We'll go ahead and put them on the truck. These are the stainless bolts that will mount the headlight to the bracket. As you can see that there's one hole with threads in them and obviously one that's not. There is a left and a right to these housings, and that's how they'll need to sit. The threaded hole will go to the inside, so I've got a driver's side light here and a passenger side light there. So now we go over and take it over here. I'll attach my wire to my fish wire that I put through the headlight bracket, mount this, and then pull my wire through inside the hood. So these stainless spacers will sit down in this hole in this bracket with our bolt, lock washers and everything through them. Thread into that threaded hole. Just get those finger tight for now so we can get them aimed and pointed in the general vicinity. That's firm enough for the time being. Now I'll get some tape I'll tape my wires from the headlight to my fishing wire each side. I'll open the hood and pull the wire through. I'll have my wires will end up inside the grill surround there, and I'll attach to the pigtail from the factory headlights. So here we got one of our factory original headlights. Now I'm going to need this harness off of here, so I'm going to go ahead and just cut the wires just about flush here with the headlight. In this harness, we've got more wires than what we need. There's markers in here, turn signals in here. All I'm going to need is my high beam wire, which is the blue, low beam wire, which is the red, and a ground. Doesn't matter which ground we get, but it's a black wire. So these three here will attach to the three wires coming out of the headlights that we installed on the truck. All right, so here's the pigtail from our factory headlight, and here's the lead coming from the headlights we just installed. And one thing to note is, obviously we don't have the same colors here. We've got red, blue, and black on the factory one, and red, white, and black on these replacement headlights. We need to know which wire does what function. We can't assume wire colors are going to match from one truck to an aftermarket part or one model truck to another. I know from experience that on this 389, our blue is a high beam, red is a low beam, and black is the ground. Now on these replacement headlights, red is the high beam, brown is low, and white is ground. So I need to connect them by function, not by color. So I'm just going to start with doing the high beam first. Doesn't matter how you do it, just be confident in what we're doing. I'll do the low beam. And lastly, I'll do my ground. My wire loom back over it. And I may need to add some wire loom also. Yeah, I'm about 6 inches short of covering all that, so I'm going to get another section of loom, cover all that, and then put my loom clamp back on that bolt right there. I want to go ahead and check how much slack there is between the headlight and it going into the bracket on the hood. I don't want to have one side with a whole lot of slack hanging down and one side pulled up tight. I certainly don't want to have a lot of slack hanging down to wave and start wearing on the paint on the fender. It's just in a perfect kind of little neutral floating position right there. Resecure our harness through the hole in that corner gusset and then up here to the hood hinge. Definitely need to make sure that this wire harness won't have the opportunity to get pulled tight or an excessive amount of slack into it, get into a steering arm or caught in a bumper lift or anything. So I'm going to plug that in. And just find a way to secure this back up here. Probably like that right there. That'll keep it safely out of harm's way. And before I finish, I'll make sure that I close the hood and check that harness to make sure I've not got it pulled tight anywhere or got it a kink or getting it bound up between any parts of the hinge or radiator or anything else in here. For now, I'm going to go ahead and cut the excess off my wire ties. And I'll go do the passenger side of the truck now. And again, when I close the hood, and make sure that harness is not getting pulled tight or getting pinched somewhere. So let me go ahead and close the hood and I'll get a light in here. No tension or stress put on that harness, so I believe that we're good to go right there. All right, so there we have it. Got our dual round old school headlights put on the new front end. Now I'll go ahead and turn on our headlights and test them out. So we got our low beams. That's the lights on the outside. And we got our high beam. It should have all 4 lights. Yeah, that looks good. Nice, bright LED lights, old school look. Looks great. All right, so now we got our headlights all mounted, got them wired. We know that they're working. Let me go ahead and make some final adjustments on this. I need to tighten up this housing. Now that I know I got it straight with the bumper and it's level. So I'm just going to tighten up this 3/4 inch headed bolt on the bottom, and then projecting the beam to the wall. Of course, we got the screws in here to adjust up and down, left and right.
All right, we've got our grill in, we got our headlights on, and I got to tell you, I could not be happier with the finished look. It accomplished exactly what we set out to do. 4-piece surround, the grill insert itself, the trim ring. Michael, what was your biggest takeaways on installing that?
This was a great piece to install. All the parts fit the truck just like they should, and they brought it to the style that we were looking for, trying to get that 379 4-piece surround and the rectangular cut grill insert in there. It was a great install. Had all the hardware, everything fit the truck. There wasn't any modifying other than obviously getting our headlight bracket holes put in there. Of course, that's an option that's up to you.
And when you study this, I mean, it is flawless. I mean, such a high quality kit. Dual round headlights was the right move. Drop brackets, painting the backs, nailed it. You're gonna have to stay tuned. We're still toying with some different ideas on grill bars, hood pull. You've seen we're gonna put the polished center strip on. That's gonna go on for sure. And then the next big change on this truck will probably be when those exhaust pipes go up in the air.
Yep, they'll change the look for sure. This was a major facelift of this truck. It looks fantastic.
Whole front end, whole package came together perfectly. I love it.
Yep, great.